But that's carried on through the history of our country, and I'm going to give you a couple statistics in here that will indicate that. I also read this recently that, and I thought it was interesting perspective. I think again, when we hear this word entrepreneur, we think of this fast growth. Like I said, Bill Gates and Michael Dell and all these kind of folks. But there are a lot of very active entrepreneurs here in our community. But this guy made this point. He said somewhere along the way there was a change in America's entrepreneurial spirit. And I think it happened like back in the 90s when these folks were starting these companies and becoming billionaires overnight. It's no longer about creating a job for oneself, rather it's seen as an exploitation of some genius idea. That's really not what it's all about. Entrepreneurship is about, first of all, creating wealth for yourself, okay? Whether you ever hire an employee, whether you ever become a multinational company, that does not figure into the definition. It's all about creating a job for yourself first, and then we hope that you go out and because your business is successful, that you create other jobs, and that's what we hope around here. So, mentioned I wanted to give you a few statistics. I call the status of entrepreneurship. First of all, and these things kind of floored me at first, but you think about it and it does make sense. But 40% of our gross domestic product today is generated by companies that didn't exist in 1980. Okay. So a lot of the new growth and the growth in our economy comes from companies that are new, entrepreneurial companies. And 50% of all of our gross domestic product comes from jobs from small businesses, all right? But the third one was the one that really kind of took me by surprise until I sat and thought about it. All net new job growth, that's our big issue right now in the United States, right? All net new job growth comes from businesses that didn't exist before 1980. Okay? And at first I went, well, Toyota and Ford and, General Electric, all these big ones in our state, but you go, well, those are the ones that are cutting jobs. Those are the ones that are trying to figure out how to get rid of humans and automate things. And okay, so it's these newer companies that, have new ideas, new markets that hire employees. So you think about it, and some companies that didn't exist before 1980, and I'm looking around the room, we got varying ages. I remember the 1980s, but and I remember the 1970s. But companies that didn't exist back then were FedEx and Southwest Airlines and Dell and Microsoft and Yahoo and so these are all the companies that are out there creating jobs. So, and most of them started by an entrepreneur. Businesses start regardless of the economy. In fact, Southwest Airlines started in a down economy. They found a discount way to move people around the country. And one new business starts every minute. As I mentioned earlier, the average age of the new entrepreneurs are 40 years old. So some things I found interesting there, which I hope you did too. And entrepreneurs really have a significant impact on our country and also our society. If you really think about it, new companies are the ones that are creating new industries. And I think I have this too. Yeah, and also the last one there. Small businesses are a major source of innovation. Who has an iPod? There's so many I things. iPod, yeah. So iPods are the thing that comes from Apple that you can record your music on and carry it around with you and listen to. But the iPod, not all of us have them, but it has revolutionized the music industry. Oops. Nobody, or very few people, nobody's buying albums anymore, right? I remember those. Very few people are buying, and 8-tracks and cassettes went out long before. But and very few people are buying CDs anymore. They just don't, right now the folks that love music, the young folks that are the kind of the meat and potatoes of the music industry are all carrying iPods. So that's how they're getting their music now, is they're downloading it off the internet. So who invented the iPod? Do I know?
Apple.
Nope. Apple didn't invent the iPod. They bought the technology and marketed it. There was a guy, his last name is Kramer. And he's actually lives in Europe. He invented the iPod, okay? But that's typical for large companies. Now, Apple started with an idea for a neat computer, and that's what got them to take off. But the iPod, iPad, all that stuff that they're coming out with, that's not their original stuff. They're buying that technology from an entrepreneur who created it, okay? Those entrepreneurs get very rich. Maybe not as rich as Apple, but they do very well by selling and licensing that technology to a company like Apple. So, and a lot of the technologies that you see coming from big companies, aren't coming out of their research and development departments. It's coming from somebody else, okay? So IBM has a wireless telecommunications expense management piece of software now that they're selling to their clients. Who invented it? I did. They didn't. Now they're putting their label on it now, and they're going to tell everybody it's theirs, but nobody will know I did it, but that's okay. I'm happy about it. It's kind of cool that I got a piece of software that IBM sells. But it's entrepreneurs and innovators that come up with the new ideas. Entrepreneurial companies create new jobs. I just mentioned that in the statistics. Small businesses are way more productive than large companies. I've worked for both, and now that I have worked in my own small business, I would never go work for a major corporation again. They're just, they're wasteful. As small companies, we got to watch every penny we have, spend it wisely. Big companies don't do that. And we're going to talk about that here in a few minutes again. All right. And also, the last one there is employees of small companies have higher job satisfaction. This is a fact through survey. And also, they get paid more. And on average, they get paid, I think it's last time I looked, it's like 21% more for the same type of position in larger companies. So, pay well as well. So, I'm going to switch gears here and say, let's answer the question, why do businesses get started? Again, I get the blessing of hearing from a lot of entrepreneurs, and I've heard them all, and these are some of my favorite ones. I call them reactive reasons. They don't like their boss. All right, or they don't like their job, or they don't like their company. That's probably the most common thing. I want to work less. I hear that one. I want to get rich. I want to earn a living. I want to be my own boss. I want to sell my invention. I've come up with this idea, and I want to sell it. I can do what my old company does, but I can do it better. I hear that one a lot too. So, let me kind of give you the reality here. I don't like my boss or my company or what I do there. You'll have to work with more people and do more jobs than you did before. And I look around the room and know the people that run businesses now going, yep. I want to work less. Nope, you're going to work harder and longer than you ever would working for somebody else. It's your company. I want to get rich. We're going to talk about this later, but very few succeed at staying in business and even much less get rich. All right? I want to be my own boss. True by the definition of the word, but then your boss becomes your customer, because in essence, that's where your paycheck comes from. So you're beholden to them. And there's more of those. I want to sell my invention. First of all, very few inventors are business people. They're inventors. So if they just have an idea, and I get people all the time coming to me with this new widget, and I tell them what it's going to take to get there and do that, and I never hear from them again, because they don't really know how to take that thing from idea to actually getting it commercial. I can do what my old company does, but better. Yeah, but can you have the resources that they have? And that's one thing I see a lot with entrepreneurs is they go, I'm going to sell this exact same thing that my current company is selling, but I'm going to sell it into this market. I'm going to sell it cheaper. I'm going to do this or that. And I'm going to, I eventually say, if you actually bite into their business, it's just a quick boardroom decision to spend $1 million and just put you out of business. So you have to be really thinking differently. So. Not to discourage anybody, but I hear this a lot, but there's a lot of reality behind those reasons for starting your own business that you got to be mindful of. The other thing I see when entrepreneurs come in, especially if they have been working for somebody else most of their life, that there are some difficult transitions you got to make. It's a different mindset. And these are a few of them that I have up here. Most companies that you work for are what I call vision driven. So a lot of entrepreneurs come in here and I say, I have this vision, because that's the way their companies did things. They had visions and told everybody about it, and everybody in big companies marched very slowly towards the vision, all right? With entrepreneurs, it has to be market driven. You got to understand what your customers want, when they want it, what are they going to pay for it. It has very little to do with vision. We always tell entrepreneurs, you have to have a vision statement, and you should. But, in reality, you have to be real savvy as an entrepreneur and really understand where the market's headed. I think corporate businesses are very project-based. And what I mean is, you come into work someday and they go, we got a new project. And off you go on that project. And when you're working for yourself, it's very product-based. It's not about projects, it's about my product and how do I sell it and get it out in the market and all that kind of stuff. Corporate strategies versus business plans, business plan driven. I'm going to mention that here in a few minutes again, that as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, you really need to have a business plan written down, know where you're going. It's not what I call corporate strategies, but you have to say, here's my plan, here's the direction I'm headed. It's very, other businesses are very internal. They think inside, dealing with other employees. That's what you do most of the day. When you're an entrepreneur, it's very external. You should be concerned about dealing with your customers and partners that are helping you get your product out to market. Corporate businesses are very operational, versus what you would need to be is a long-term strategic. So you go from thinking, how do I keep my job this week to, how am I going to keep this income flowing in 3, 4, 5 years from now, all right? In big businesses, other people are making those decisions. You have to make them. I think most businesses are very vertical. It's very, here's the president, the vice presidents, and you're down here.